Past. I was fortunate to grow up in a community that no longer exists, even in small-town America. Even then, in our small town, it was dying. It was a time when riding a two-wheeler through the streets made you king of the road. Our parents believed in the society they helped create and gave us the freedom to roam around. For me and the boys in our early teenage years, our main concern was how close we could get our bikes to the paved roads when we were in a tight, long turn down a hill. Without the protections required in this day and age, the three of us always tried to outdo each other. The faster, the more dangerous the trip, the greater the thrill achieved. Billy Moon, Jack Peters, and I, the carefree ass that I am, have been best friends since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. We all lived on the same street, less than 12 houses apart. My parents' house was in the middle. I was the eldest, the other two were a year younger. Our parents agreed early in our lives that if the three of us were caught doing something we shouldn't, we would be punished equally. We soon learned that we had not one set of parents, but three. More than once, the three of us were spanked by one of our fathers who had reached the limit of his patience with our nonsense. The other two fathers, when they learned about this, said, "Be grateful that it was not me, because I would have done it much worse." Today, two other fathers would have filed suit against whoever did it. It didn't matter that one family was African American. The other was Indian, who moved to the States to escape the caste system of their former society and changed their names to assimilate, or that my parents were white. They were united in raising us until we graduated from high school. The three of us were so close growing up. The three families often had barbecues together and were friends. Their morals and principles, once known, bound them together. Today they would all be called racists, because they treated each other as equals, and we all know that cannot be tolerated. After all, our society requires that there be a group of people who can be hated regardless of the truth. They all believed that they were only worth their word. It was a time when you still trusted and respected your neighbor and worked with them to make your community a better place. They were not taught by our educators how to actually manipulate people, the system, and its power in our favor. After my generation left school, educators began teaching children their rights and how to use them against their parents. I didn't realize this until I became a parent myself. The rise of individualism exploded. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and we were in the middle of one of the biggest descents we knew when a little 5-year-old girl ran onto the road in front of us. Since I was closest to the side of the road, I had a choice: hit the child or get into an accident myself. I made a choice that most today would consider stupid because we all know that life doesn't matter. A crime is only a crime if you are convicted. Walk away with your hands and the sucker is considered to have gotten what he deserved. I fell, hit the curb, and rolled across the front yard. The little girl's two older sisters saw me flying from their living room window and came outside. I got hurt pretty bad. Both my knees and elbows were bleeding. The little girl took her ball and began to walk back into the yard as if nothing had happened. My front wheel was destroyed, as was the rim. I thought it would take at least a month of pocket money to fix it. I was already getting up when the boys turned around and returned. I was hurt so badly that I had tears in my eyes. The little girl's two older sisters came out and helped me clean up. Billy Moon and they went to the same Catholic school, so they knew each other. From that day on, I became known to them as Billy's friend who got hurt to keep their sister safe. Yes, all three of us went to different schools. Only I went to public school. It was a time when religious differences, political differences, and sexual differences remained behind closed doors and were not discussed publicly, even in our schools. Parents then were left to raise their children. Today, they are encouraged to stay away. The village knows best. You're just an idiot who doesn't know anything. Challenging what is taught can result in your child being expelled if you don't have the money to buy yourself out by paying someone a bribe. The only thing that matters is the money and how to get it. As a 40-year-old man recently told me, I can take money from anyone. Take in the dictionary means to obtain possession, either legally or illegally. Unfortunately, one such statement says a lot about the environment in which we all live. After collecting the remains of my broken two-wheeler, I began walking back to my house, which was just over a mile away. Both girls my age decided to walk with me halfway to make sure I was okay. We all didn't have keys to our parents' doors because our doors were never locked. Little did I know how much this small event would impact my life. It was my senior year of high school when I decided to become a physical therapist after many conversations with my high school counselor. She believed that with my characteristics, I would be ideal for this, not because of my educational qualifications, but because of the history of my part-time work. She watched me while her mother was in a nursing home, recovering from a serious illness. I volunteered there, part-time, and had good reviews. I have gained a reputation for being considerate, patient, compassionate, and reliable. If I couldn't answer their question right away, I would find the information they needed to provide it to them. She was surprised that I had a natural ability to make these older people trust me. The simple act of keeping one's word spoke volumes. As a result, I learned things they didn't tell anyone else. When important things affecting their well-being became known, I encouraged others to address them. That's why she felt that my concern for the overall health of patients would complement me in the career she wanted me to consider. An added benefit was my innate ability to be honest. It took me 3 years to become a doctor of physical therapy. I went through a program that taught me diagnostic and treatment techniques. It also kept my body in great shape because I was using my muscles in unique ways. The course included topics on anatomy, the use of physical therapy techniques and exercises necessary to treat some unusual injuries. My instructors took my interest seriously because I physically tried the exercises until they became second nature to me. One of them thought I was going overboard and took me aside to have a serious talk about it. I had to explain that I believed that my ability to correctly demonstrate how to do the exercises would greatly help me in their rehabilitation. He acknowledged that I approached the question logically, but admitted that my approach was so different from the other students that they began to worry. The course I enrolled in included a clinical practicum where we integrated into an existing program under the supervision of licensed physical therapists. This gave me hands-on experience in a variety of physical therapy modalities, including rehabilitation and acute care. By the time I graduated from university, I had 6 job offers. The people I worked with in the clinic praised me for making things that seemed difficult and easy. For some reason, the knowledge I was learning registered in my mind differently than that of my fellow students. This was something I didn't appreciate. One veteran had difficulty adjusting to the latest version of his artificial leg. The professional working with him began to become nervous about the veteran's lack of improvement. Nothing he tried worked. He still had a lot of problems adapting to it. I asked myself why. By chance, I noticed that on his good leg, the foot naturally turned outward, indicating a natural imbalance in the muscles of the lower leg, caused more by what he had inherited through his genes than anything else. This caused his sense of balance to change over the years. The muscles on the inside of his leg were suppressed by the outside ones, and had been that way for most of his life. As a result, when he wore the artificial leg, it would be straight, while his real leg would tilt outward, creating a conflict with his own body. I contacted the Science and Technology Department with an explanation of my problem. With their help, using a 3D printer, we were able to create a device that allows the artificial leg to fit in a new way. With my supervisor's approval, because everything else was not working, I installed an artificial leg so that it would resemble his good leg as closely as possible. The veteran was reluctant to try, but after explaining the reasons, I was able to convince him to try. He couldn't believe the difference once he stood up. It seemed more comfortable and natural to him. Within 3 days, his difficulty walking disappeared. The pressure and pain he felt on his good side seemed to dissipate. He no longer walked with a limp. There was a significant improvement in his balance. It was the first time my mentor and I had seen him smile in weeks. He seemed to change his attitude when we finally told him we had done all we could. We saw the pure joy on his wife's face as he picked her up and danced around the room with her. She said it was the first time in years that he had danced with her. My instructor was amazed because I turned the usual thinking around and adapted the equipment to better use it, rather than trying to force him to adapt to it. He sent a glowing recommendation about me to the university. When hospitals hired graduates, they were provided with copies of these recommendations. I explained to him that the textbooks did not take into account that each of us naturally adapted to what our DNA provided us as we grew older. Any devices and equipment must be flexible enough to adapt to human needs. I learned this years later when I met him by chance that this simple act improved the quality of his life. Every time his artificial leg was replaced, he would recreate the part I created to modify the artificial leg before use. There were 3 sets of parents at my university graduation. Of the 3 of us childhood friends, I was the only one who continued his education beyond high school. Each set of parents was an honored guest, because they were all the biggest influences in my life. I don't think I'll ever forget the moment I received my diploma from the dean and started walking off the stage. A retired captain stood there, in full uniform, to salute me. That day I told them I was coming home to work for the Southeast Missouri hospital system. Of course, after moving back to my parents' house until I was settled, they threw a party for me to welcome back. Jack Peters joined the Marines. Billy Moon returned to India to find a wife, and they didn't know if he would return. I think that both of my friend's parents hoped that I would show interest in my friend's sisters. One of the first clients I worked with at my new job was a woman who had had a knee replacement the day before, and I was holding her up as she walked down the hallway when her granddaughter came in. For some reason, when I returned the client to her room, the young lady continued to watch. I just assumed she was pleased with how I supported her grandmother, just like any other family member. After I helped the client back onto the bed, I told her I would return later to continue working with her when she was rested. Just as I was about to leave, my granddaughter said, "I got it! You're Billy Moon's friend who went down to avoid my little sister." I smiled and said, "That was years ago. I'm surprised you remember. I didn't recognize you. My name is Russell Brophy. Nice to see you again." It was a scary moment when June and I realized we had lost track of Mary. We had to keep an eye on her while Mom was showering, she said. "I'm Kimberly Taylor, average." Her grandmother was watching us as we talked, saw the natural attraction and chimed in. "Kim, I think you should buy this nice young man dinner and thank him for saving your ass back then." "Nana, shh," Kim said. "Russ might be married." "Are you married, young man?" her grandmother asked. "Nana," Kim exclaimed, blushing. "No, I'm not married," I said. "If you promise to work hard for the next few days before you are discharged, I will agree to meet your granddaughter for dinner if she will allow me to pay." "Well, everything is settled, isn't it?" Grandma Kim said with a smile. I could hear Kim whispering under my breath, "You don't have to do this. I can say later that we met and it didn't work." "I'm sorry, but I can't do that." "She'll find out when she interrogates me," I said, what the real truth was. We agreed to meet at Charlie's Bar and Grill and began to show interest in each other. Kimberly worked part-time at the local Fox television station and hosted a short 5-minute video segment about current events in our area. She also took courses to qualify as a primary school teacher at university. She could also be seen assisting with weather forecasts on weekends when needed. Although her parents were still staunch Catholics, she was not committed to the church. Although she believed in God, she did not associate herself with any religious organization, mainly due to the way her Catholic education affected her as a child. She found out that I was agnostic towards anything religious. The next day, when I was working with her grandmother, I was asked all the usual questions, which I answered tactfully. There was only one question that I refused to answer for her, and that was whether I was going to ask her out again. When Grandma Kim left on Friday, her daughter and her husband came to take her home. I just returned from the outpatient center after working there for 4 hours. We ran into each other in the main lobby while they waited for her husband to get the car out of the parking lot. During conversations, Kimberly's mother found out the story of what I did many years ago. I had to smile because all of us, children of that time, did many things that our parents did not know about. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening when I arrived at Kim's apartment. It seemed like she was waiting for me because by the time I parked the car and got out, she was already walking out the front door. Kimberly was 5 feet 6 inches tall at the time. I was 5 feet 9 inches tall. I was more interested in her personality and good nature than her appearance. I had already decided by that time that we would most likely remain friends. This is probably why everything worked out for us, because neither of us was ready to settle down. We had an hour for dinner before heading to the university for the brass and symphony band concert in Bedell Hall. We decided to go to a recently opened Mexican restaurant, and we were disappointed. The quality and taste were not up to par. The theme for the evening's performance was Earthscapes, a musical representation of the geography of our planet. From beautiful and tranquil to gritty and unapologetic, it was a continuous 2-hour musical performance without a single voice during the performance. A huge wall-to-wall screen behind the orchestra showed inspiring, changing images of the type of land the music represented. We walked out of the concert holding hands, discussing how unique the experience was because neither of us had ever done anything like this before. It was funny because we both liked it. I wonder if what we saw tonight was like those silent movies when there was live music, I said. If that's the case, then it must have been just as wonderful and inspiring for those who saw it, Kim replied. What inspired you to choose this for our first date? Besides the movie theater, that was the only thing that still had tickets, I said. It was so unusual that I loved it. We had just gotten back to my truck, and as soon as I opened the doors, Kim's phone rang. It turned out that her grandmother was hosting a Sunday barbecue after church and wanted to make sure she would come. Kim said she would be there, but not alone. You'll have to pick me up around 3, Kim said. Let me warn you, when the family gets together, there will be pranksters testing you to see if you can handle it. For them, it's their test to see if you fit in. Sometimes great relationships start with something simple. Time has proven that this was true for Kimberly and me. When we arrived at Grandma Kim's farm, there were a lot of cars there. As we walked out, we heard voices in the backyard. It turned out that not only all the members of her family were there, but also many of her uncles, aunts, and their children. The grandmother, seeing me with her granddaughter, smiled with pure delight. Kim and I knew we had made her day. Kim was right. Her family tried several divorces, and I let them pass me by as if I didn't understand. Both Kim and her grandmother knew better. While we were busy eating, one of her uncles brought me a straight double shot of sour bag and a large lemon, thinking he had finally found a way to make me lose my patience. I asked him for a knife for slicing, which he immediately brought to me. I sat down at the picnic table and cut a lemon into 8 wedges. I said to the uncle who brought me this, "Are you ready for the challenge?" He replied, "Of course." "Okay, you have to do what I did with these 2 items you gave me," I said. Thinking he had no chance of losing, he said, "Let's begin." He watched as I used my thumb to separate the lemon pulp from the peel, then put the separated pulp into my mouth and ate it as if it were an orange. When half the lemon was eaten, I took half of the double shot he gave me, rinsed my mouth with it, and washed it down in one gulp. I repeated the process until everything was eaten and drunk. Someone brought the same thing as me. Everyone laughed because he tried but couldn't do it. He thought he had outsmarted me, and I outsmarted him. "Just so you all know," Grandma Kim said, "Russell Brophy is no one's fool. He knew what you were doing all day and let it go, knowing that he would eventually get the better of one of you. Russ has a good head on his shoulders, and if you try your tricks again, you will answer me." After that, everyone accepted me. By remaining calm in the face of their childish antics, I earned their respect because they realized that I could play their games better than them. As she said, the Kim sisters finally arrived. That evening, Kim learned that she had serious competition. After the introductions were made, Kim had to explain to her sisters how we met and who I was. From the moment Mary found out who I was, she refused to leave my side. It seems the story of my sacrificial act has been exaggerated and expanded 100-fold. For all intents and purposes, Mary, at the age of 13, had a huge teenage crush on me. as did her older sister, June. After we thanked Grandma Kim for dinner, we got ready to head to the movie theater. We ended the evening by the river, walking and getting to know each other better. June and Mary tried to cause problems for Kim and me before we got serious, but they soon realized that I wasn't going to play their game. I was the one who kept Kim from worrying about her sisters. It was just after my next birthday that my life changed. My grandfather died, leaving me at the family home. My father agreed with me that I would have to update everything if I was going to keep it. I divided the 10-acre plot into 3 parts. I sold one part as land and the second part with the house. This brought me enough money to build my own house without much additional expense. When the building was completed, I still had a $20,000 mortgage, but I had a new home that was 3,800 square feet, with 5 bedrooms and a master suite on the first floor. That's when the relationship between Kimberly and I began to change. Accidents happen when you overheat, and boy did this happen. 3 months after she broke the news, we got married. 5 months later, a little angel with blonde hair and blue eyes was born. Juniper May weighed 6 pounds and immediately became Grandma's favorite. Tammy Lynn, Betty Joe, and James Earl soon followed, named after my father. Present tense. I was sitting in my office, heading the physical therapy department at Southeast Missouri Hospital, when the reality of our world changed. My wife, Kimberly, now an elementary school principal, and I were married for 22 years. Our 4 children were either in high school or in college, working towards their dreams. Over the next year, we will become empty nesters, adjusting to life as just the 2 of us again. To be honest, I was ready for this. She was at a meeting in St. Louis that Friday because it was Teacher Development Day and there were no classes. The state scheduled a conference that she was expected to attend. It was a 2-day event, so she left on Thursday evening. An order was then issued to stay sheltered and not leave your home unless you are an essential worker. Our governor has left it up to each county to decide on this issue. In St. Louis, the situation was worse. At that time, we had 1 case of infection locally. I decided to stop at the local Walmart on the way home to pick up some basic things, even though we already had everything in stock. I'm glad I did it because panic set in. When I walked in, a woman was heading to the checkout counter with 2 carts full of toilet paper. I grabbed my cart and headed straight to that section to grab the biggest package I could find. Then I went around the aisles, collecting basic items that we might be missing. As I walked around the alleys, picking up things, I met the deputy director working with my wife. It was a complete shock to me because Kimberly told me they were going together. "Hi, Shauna," I said. "I thought you were going to St. Louis for an educational seminar." "What seminar?" asked Shauna. At that moment, I realized that something else was going on. If there was no workshop, why should June's husband, a high school teacher, attend? When I left Walmart, I called June from the car to tell her what I found out. She agreed to meet me at my home. After I put the groceries away, I logged into our credit card account and discovered that the deposit for the hotel room had been recorded, but had not been charged. I called customer service and asked them to provide the hotel address. Using an address lookup, I was able to get the name and phone number of the hotel where the payment came from. At that moment, the doorbell rang. "Come in, June. The door's open," I shouted. June walked in with her younger sister, Mary, who was recently divorced. Her ex-doctor husband was caught cheating with one of the nurses working in his office. Mary found out about the affair when he received a court summons for divorce. After offering both of my sister-in-law's sisters a glass of white wine, I suggested June send a text message to our spouses asking about the governor's announcement, asking them what hotel they were staying at and what room they had. Whatever their occupation at that moment, it was clear that they were not together, because the details that came back to each of us when compared were the same. A simple text message revealed their romance. I picked up the phone and called a social blogger who was a highly respected and famous in-state. I told him that I had just gotten off the phone with my wife and learned that one of the hotel guests was now in the hospital with a virus. He asked which hotel, and I told him. June looked at me askance because I had never lied in my life. "Mary and June," I said, because I wanted to see what Kimberly and Thomas would come up with as an excuse. I continued by saying, when they are forced to reveal to us what we already know. "What do you think will happen, Russ?" June asked. "The suspicion would be sufficient, given the panic, to force the hotel and all its guests to remain in quarantine for at least 2 weeks," I said. "This will give us time to find lawyers and file for divorce." Jill laughed and said, "God, you set them up. It's funny, but it's not funny." After saying this, Jill picked up her mobile phone and did a few things. Mary noticed this and asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm canceling all our credit cards and moving most of our funds into a savings account because my husband's debit card doesn't have access to it," Jill said. "Let my sister pay the bills." A big smile appeared on Mary's face as she said, "Russ, when they bring my sister in with a summons, I'll go get you. And this time, I won't take no for an answer." I smiled because sometimes fate puts a gift in front of you. And I looked at one of them. Many nights when I made love to my wife, I thought about Mary. I loved my wife, but I was never in love with her. I'm sure she felt the same way about me. We both knew that if she hadn't gotten pregnant, we wouldn't have gotten married. Mary suggested turning on the local TV station. We have Fox or CBS, both owned by the same corporation. On Fox, they showed reruns of the same news program. I turned it on. The news was devastating. The problems in our state were mainly in St. Louis, where the governor ordered a complete shutdown of the city. In all other counties, he left the decision to local authorities on how to handle the situation. All non-urgent surgeries were canceled to prepare for what might follow. It's sad that we had one case in our county at the time, but on Monday I had to review staffing levels to begin layoffs. Every medical office across the country will be affected. Even though you had clients planned on paper, no one would show up. My son James burst through the door just after his 2 aunts left to tell me that going forward, he would be staying home, taking the rest of his school year online. One of the teachers drove through the Arby's pickup window and told him so. He must have seen the look in my eyes because he asked, "Dad, what happened?" "There was no special educational conference that your mother had to go to," I replied. "Then what is she doing and who did she go with?" asked James. "She's staying at a hotel in St. Louis with your Uncle Thomas," I said. June and I both sent them a text message asking for a hotel number and room, and they responded with the same location and number. June is taking it hard. Mary is staying with her. My son and I cooked dinner together. Since I was busy preparing dinner when the message alarm sounded on my mobile phone, I asked my son to check it. "Dad, this is from Mom. She just found out what's going on. She's telling you that everyone at the hotel has been quarantined for 14 days. She'll call you when she gets back to the hotel," James said. "Should I call and tell Aunt June?" "Yes, I think it's worth it," I answered, trying not to smile. James talked with his aunt for quite some time and learned the whole story from her side. He was surprised that their stupidity gave them away. We had just sat down to eat when the doorbell rang. James went to open it. It was Mary with 2 suitcases of clothes and several stacks of boxes to pack. She said, "James, since I live alone and don't have children, I'm going to stick with you for at least the next 2 weeks." James shouted, "Dad!" I said, "She knows everything, so let's let her in." I pulled out an extra plate and Mary joined us for dinner. "Why do you need cardboard boxes, Aunt Mary?" James asked while we were eating. "These are for your father," Mary said. "June already has hers to pack all of Thomas's personal belongings. He doesn't know it yet, but he won't have a home left to go back to." James seemed puzzled because Mary continued, "When I found out my husband was cheating on me, I knew he had been lying to me for months. It took me until after my divorce to find out that he had been cheating on me for over 8 months. James, it's a 3-pronged problem," I added. "Betrayal, lies, and the destruction of trust that took years to build." James thought about this for a few minutes and then said, "Divorce is always talked about, but the real damage it does is never talked about. It's not just cheating that ruins a marriage, but the damage it does to other aspects of a marriage that most people never see. It's a damn hard way to see the whole picture," I said. Now you understand why I don't take sides when I hear about people I know getting divorced. Nothing is black and white, although we logically want to believe it is. Is there a chance that Mom and you can get over this? Asked James. You can't change what's done, no matter how hard you try, I replied. Less than 1% of those who try to restore succeed because, in the back of their minds, they always wonder if their spouse is returning to their behavior. James looked at his aunt and said, You always took a special interest in my father. Can you explain why? I was 13 when I first met your father, Mary said. To me, he was legendary. My sisters believed that he may have saved my life. He was and remains different from all the men I knew. Even then, despite the age difference, he treated me like an equal. At first I thought it was hero worship, but now I think it was love at first sight. I was jealous of your mother because I was in love with him. James's eyes widened. His aunt was telling him things that he did not know but could well understand. It was your father who helped me deal with my divorce, she continued. When your older sister May was born, I knew I missed the chance to be with him. I resigned myself to my husband because I couldn't be with him. James, I'm here for your father because I still love him. If our relationship will change in the future, it's because it had to happen, and not because I interfered between your mother and him. Aunt Mary, thank you. That explains a lot, I was wondering, said James. There's another question that my 3 sisters have been wondering for years because May talks about it all the time. It was shocking to see Mary's face turn pale. I thought she was deathly afraid of the question my son was about to ask. Go ahead, James. Ask, I said. If Mary can't answer, maybe I can. Is there a chance that Dad isn't May's biological father? James asked seriously. I ask because May believes 100% that this is not the case, but she won't tell us why. Yes, there is. Your mother was dating someone other than your father right before they announced their engagement, Mary said. No one in the family can confirm the truth and didn't dare ask because we didn't want to know. I did not know. Mary knew this and kept the family secret all these years. I had to ask because I needed to know. June married Thomas 2 years after I married Kim. Was it Thomas? I asked. I'm not sure, Mary answered. It was either him or his twin brother. We still have trouble telling them apart when they're together. Does Jill know? I asked. I don't think so, said Mary. Remember, she was in law school at the time and was out of the picture. When Kim and you started dating, she was home for summer break. With this revelation now out in the open, I picked up the phone and called my oldest daughter. She didn't answer, and my call went to her answering machine. I asked her to call me back when she could because it was important, but not an emergency. James said he would clean the kitchen. After I poured Mary and myself a drink, we went into the living room to talk. I had just put our drinks on the coffee table when she ran into my arms. Mary didn't give me a chance to hesitate. She pressed her lips to mine and kissed me in a way that I will remember for years. I couldn't help but respond in kind. It's been a long time since I've felt such passion. Mary had her father's hair color, which was reddish-brown, which was recently dyed in a dark red color with blonde strands. She had full breasts, a nice, slightly slender figure, and was the same height as me. The shape of her hips made her appear to have a long, horseshoe-shaped butt. She was built the way I like women, and she knew it. For her, our 8-year difference did not matter. She pulled away to say something, but before I gave her a chance, I pulled her close again and responded in kind. We stood there, hugging each other, as if we were trying to make up for lost time. When we heard James approaching, we stopped. By the time he reached the living room, we were sitting at a respectful distance from each other, sipping our drinks. Where should I put Aunt Mary's suitcases? James asked, entering the room. If it were my choice, it would be your father's bedroom, Mary said seriously. James blushed. I laughed and said, Would you mind, James? Dad, based on the truth we learned tonight, he said, perhaps marrying your mother was your biggest mistake. I believe that Aunt Mary was honest in everything. Whatever you decide to do, I will support it 100%. Let Mary and I talk. We have a lot to think about, I said. James, we both want to make sure we make the right decisions for the right reasons. I hid my feelings for your aunt for years. Okay, Dad, I'll put her luggage at the foot of the stairs leading to the upper hallway and let you guys get back to kissing, James said. Aunt Mary, you left a mark of your lipstick on Daddy. When he left the room, he was laughing, and we were both blushing. Mary came over to me with a drink and sat on my lap. Looking into my eyes, she became serious. If I put my suitcases in your bedroom, I'm not going to leave, Mary said. I'm still capable of having children, and I want two. I need to know, are you okay with that? No, I don't mind, I replied with a smile. You can plan for two, but accidents happen. Then we have a lot to pack, Mary said. I want all of Kim's things out of our bedroom tonight. Over the weekend, we can move her things to my house and my things here. That way, when she is able to return, she will have a place to stay. It took us about 3 hours, thanks to tape, to pack all her things. James loaded the filled, taped boxes into the bed of my Ford pickup. Mary was determined, and while she put her things away, I removed the sheets, turned the mattress over, and pulled on a fresh set of sheets. I was downstairs making us both another drink when the phone rang. I knew from the ringtone that it was my eldest daughter, May. Thanks for calling back, I said. As you know, there's a lot going on, but I need to know the answer to one question. No problem, Dad, May said. What is this? When and how did you know that I was not your biological father? I asked. Damn, you were never supposed to find out, May said. I overheard Thomas and Mom talking about it at a family meeting. When I confronted Mom later, she confessed. She also explained that he was not ready for marriage then, and if she did not marry because of her family's beliefs, it would have caused too many problems. Thank you for your honesty, I said. Just so you know, Thomas and your mom came out on their own earlier today. They are both currently quarantining for 2 weeks in the same hotel room in St. Louis. Your Aunt June knows, and like me, will be filing for divorce. I can't live with a man who lied to me all my life. I can't say I'm surprised because I saw it coming, May said. I would do the same thing. Who else knows? Just your brother and you, I said. I'll let you explain this to your sisters over the weekend because I'll be packing all of your mom's things for storage at your Aunt Mary's. Did you run into Mom? May asked. No. The last text I got said she would call me later tonight to tell me what was going on, I said. Neither of them seem to have a clue that we know about their long-term relationship. Dad, Mom told me that all my brothers and sisters are yours, May said. They only resumed their relationship after my 16th birthday. I love you, May, no matter what. Never forget that, I said. James agrees with what I'm doing. Well, I'll probably be finishing school at home this year, May said. Nothing official has been announced, but the hallways are full of rumors. Mary came into the kitchen to find out why I was talking for so long and overheard part of the conversation. I said goodbye to my daughter and then explained to Mary and James what May had revealed. Dad, this clears up a lot of things, James said. Aunt Mary, at least we know the truth. Dad, let go of the past and get rid of the pain as soon as you can. Where did you get such wisdom? I asked. From your mouth when I was faced with betrayal, James said. That was the best advice at the time. With knowledge comes freedom. I knew there would be moments ahead, but I have unconditional love and support to see me through them. Mary just hugged me tightly for a few minutes. I told James to freshen up our drinks and make himself one. The three of us sat talking and planning our Saturday. I told James to take all the hours he could because they wouldn't last. I explained that the property was still in the family trust, which I now controlled, and it would not be part of the divorce. Kim seriously screwed up, Mary said. Thomas, when June is done with him, there won't be much left either. Both looked at me as I turned off my cell phone for the night, saying, if June heard from her husband, then Kim knows they're caught. I won't wait for her call. Then I put it on charge. Mary asked if we had an extra charger for her phone. James took one out of a drawer of miscellaneous junk. She turned off hers and placed it next to mine to charge. As soon as she finished her drink, she said, I'm going upstairs. Will you come with me? I talked to my son a little more to make sure he understood everything before rising. Mary and I didn't want to sleep in the master bedroom until we were completely clear of all my wife's things. I discovered that Mary was all ready. I changed my clothes and went to bed. I went to the bathroom and changed into pajama pants before joining her. We started slowly hugging each other and kissing tenderly. We both explored each other's unknown country in our own ways. We had to discover what turned each other on. It was fun to feel like a young, inexperienced teenager again. I don't know when we fell asleep, but we both woke up with smiles on our faces and picked it up where we left off. It was a perfect Saturday morning for both of us. It was a nice, quiet, intimate time. Two lovers enjoy their first hours surrounded by the love they have created together. It was almost noon when we got out of bed. Mary turned on her cell phone while we waited for the coffee maker to brew our first coffee of the day. She had 2 messages on her answering machine, one from both of her sisters. 16 text messages left reflected the panic one of them was in. She called June first and put her on speaker so I could hear both sides of the conversation. June answered after the first ring and spoke first before Mary could say anything. "Where are you? I walked past your house after Thomas called you to talk," June said, "discovering that you are not at home." "I'm where I should have been years ago," Mary said. "So what did you want to talk to me about?" "Thomas says nothing happened, that they only live in a 2-bedroom, June said. "I told the lying bastard that I didn't believe him because I was looking at the hotel's webpage that showed what types were available, and I hung up on the asshole." "We found out that our sister confided in May that Thomas was her biological father," Mary said. "He only pursued you so he could stay in close contact with both Kim and May. Their current romance began just after May turned 16. "Hold on, you said we are," June said. "Does this mean what I think it means?" "Yes," Mary giggled. "I've already started moving." "Congratulations, sis. Stick with him. He was always 1 in a million, June said. "At least this time you start your relationship with each other honestly and not with ulterior motives. Is Russell as good as we thought?" "Better," Mary said, making me blush. "Okay, enough chatting. I will come. I expect you both to be dressed by the time I arrive," June said before hanging up. Mary and I looked at each other and started laughing. After a few more kisses, I turned on my cell phone while we drank our first coffee. I have 5 messages left on my answering machine, 1 from each of my daughters and 2 from my future ex-wife. Mary listened to them with me through the speaker. The first message from Kim simply told me that she was stuck and that the hotel was not going to charge her for the room. The second was emotional because she found out that we all found out. She asked me not to do anything until she had a chance to talk to me. I thought, "It's too late. You're stupid. Don't you understand that I know that you have been lying to me our entire life together?" "Enough of her nonsense," said Mary. "I'm going to deal with my sister." She then sent a text message that said, "I made love to my future husband thanks to you twice last night and once this morning. He knows about your affair. Expect to be served with your claim before the end of your 14-day quarantine." "Someday I'll have to thank that stupid fool for bringing us together," Mary said. "Right now I want her to feel as much pain as possible for everything she's done." I didn't say a word. I just took her in my arms and gave her a very sensual kiss. After we broke the kiss, Mary said, "If June hadn't come here now, we would have gone back to the bedroom." I called May first. Mary also took part in the conversation. By the end of the conversation, May was on our side. She called her sisters and explained to them everything she knew from the previous night. They took it hard and found it hard to believe. Everyone agreed that their mother had ruined her marriage. Mary answered all of May's questions, and they were still talking when June arrived, both of us still half-dressed. When she entered the kitchen, she smiled. "Looks like the honeymoon started before the wedding," June said with a laugh. "My early wedding gift to you both is that I will become Russell's lawyer in his divorce from my sister." May heard what her aunt said and said through the speakerphone, "Oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare." The 3 of us burst into laughter. After we had calmed down, May said goodbye, making sure I called her sisters. What happened next completely surprised me. "Sister, I hope you can convince him to honor our agreement," June said seriously. "Russell, Do me a favor and kiss my sister just like you did to me last night and this morning, Mary said. After you do this, I will explain what I agreed to. June, although the eldest of the three sisters in structure, seemed to be a balance between the two. It was, and remains, created to warm a man on cold nights. My soon-to-be ex-wife Kim was more pear-shaped. If I had gotten involved with one of Kim's sisters before she got pregnant, I would have essentially moved up the social ladder. So when June came up to kiss me, I was surprised when she took the initiative and inserted her tongue into my mouth. I couldn't stop myself from answering. I expected the kiss to be short, but it wasn't. I soon reacted naturally, and when I did, June hugged me tighter. "June, put your hand in his pajama pants," Mary said. "Take him to our bedroom and make love to him until he's gone. Need rest." "Russell, before you and I got together," Mary said, "I promised her that if we were ever together, I would share you with her." June did what her sister suggested. I did it too. As June undressed in front of me, I thanked the gods that my son James was at work. As soon as we were on the bed, she attacked me. That afternoon, I learned that, of the three sisters, she was the wildest. We both lay there, exhausted from the afterglow, when Mary climbed in and lay down next to me. With her sister and I half asleep, Mary said, "Do you think, my dear future husband and future father of our children, you can handle being that and having my sister as your full-time mistress?" I didn't know the answer to that question, but I knew I would die trying. Mary and I were just kissing and hugging. At my age, it took me quite a long time to recover. As soon as this happened, Mary slipped out of her nightgown and lowered herself onto me. It was our unification that awakened June. When I finally returned downstairs, both ladies were busy preparing dinner as if nothing had happened. I was about to say something, but thought better of it, and was glad I did because June spoke first. "We all understand that there is a delicate balance ahead," June said. "Russell, I love you as much as Mary. We will not make love in this house in the future. This is Mary's domain, and I respect that. June and I agree that she needs alone time with me at least twice a week," Mary said, "to take care of things that a husband would normally do. We'll figure it out, if that's okay for you." I wasn't about to start an argument with these two women after what they had shown me over the last day, so I said, "As long as you both agree that Mary comes first to me, I have no objection." To express their pleasure at my statement, they both took turns sharing a deep kiss with me. I told them I was going to go into the den and call Tammy Lynn and Betty Jo. James came home from work while I was doing this. He walked into the kitchen and saw his two aunts preparing dinner. Aunt Mary insisted that he bring me a drink. I was just finishing up a conversation with Betty Jo when he came in. "Dad, what's going on?" he asked. "I've never seen them so happy in my life." "The best way to explain it," I said, "is that both ladies are looking at the best days of their lives." "Maybe," he said. "When I see some woman so happy, I just assume she had a good time. You haven't moved around much. Can you explain why?" "Your Aunt June has agreed to become my lawyer," I said. "We spent most of the day working on the papers to file for divorce." "Part of the problem was that Mary and I didn't get up until noon," I admitted. "Then June arrived. I had to talk to your three sisters and they sent you their love." We were all sitting at the table having dinner when Kim called. I ignored her attempts to contact me all day, mainly because I was busy most of the day. I turned on the speakerphone. I responded as coldly and distantly as possible. "Hi, Kim. What do you need?" "We need to start resolving this," Kim said. "Allow what?" I said. "I talked to May for a long time. She agreed to send me a notarized statement as soon as possible. I think this is a sufficient reason for divorce." "What does she claim to know?" Kim asked with some apprehension. "That Thomas is her biological father," I replied, "and that you resumed your affair with him when she was 16. There was no sound coming from the phone. "Kim, it's clear that you lied to me about paternity in order to get me to marry you. I have one of the toughest lawyers around, so be prepared for a dirty and expensive battle." "Who is this?" asked Kim. "Maybe they will be willing to act reasonably and agree to negotiate." "I don't think so," I said. I think my lawyer will suck every drop of blood out of you that he can, I said. From what I know, I wouldn't blame her one bit. Why do you say that she will take revenge? Asked Kim. What did I do to her? Oh, a lot, I said. Your lover and father of your first child will soon become her ex-husband. Oh God, you didn't do it. You can't be that cruel, Kim said. He didn't hire me, Kim. I'm doing this for free, June said. I will do everything in my power to damage you and Thomas as much as possible. Thanks to the virus, you both gave yourself away. Kim ended the call. A notification about this appeared on my phone screen. James said, the legal battle between the two women will be interesting to watch. After dinner, we took the truck and drove to Mary's house to pick up another load of her things. While we were there, we decided that the furniture from her bedroom that she bought after her divorce would be a better fit for our master bedroom. Sunday turned into a day of moving furniture from house to house, along with all the bedding and other things. James asked me why we were doing this. I replied that women have a tendency to use other women's things. If we hadn't done this, we would have spent a lot of money replacing everything over the next few months. By the end of the week, we had a house full of people trying to adapt to the new reality of our home. All three of my daughters returned home to finish the school year online. It was a home, but it has changed. My son and I did a lot of furniture rearranging, which resulted in much of the main living area looking new. Each of them developed new relationships with Mary. If my children were in contact with their mother, they did not tell me about it. 3/4 of my subordinates were fired. The rest used their accrued vacation for this period. My salary was cut by 50%, and I was now working from home too. Mary, a doctor of optometry, had her own retail store and office in the center of the Cape. She was at home because her services were not considered essential. She also fired all of her employees. For the 6 of us, there was some tension in discussions about the consequences of long-term behavior and how the truth always seems to come out when you least expect it. Each of my daughters, during private conversations, said that they had never seen Mary and me so happy. Betty Jo said that Mary was showing sides of me that she had never seen before. I said, perhaps it's a little of both. You were away for about 7 months. And during that time, things happened that changed my life in a lot of ways. Maybe we both see each other in a new light because of this. No, Dad, I've heard Mary and you say I love you more times since I came home, Betty Jo said. Then I've heard you and Mom say that in my entire life. Is it true? I said, surprised. Yes, Dad. That tells me that this relationship is based on true love, Betty Jo said. Not what we force ourselves to believe is what love is. I must have expressed some emotion because my daughter came up and hugged me. Dad, the love I've learned this week, when it's real with someone, seems to bring out the best in another. And the way you and Mary show it makes it obvious to us who know you that your relationship is based on love that is real. At dinner that evening with June and her children, the house was full of commotion. Cousins were catching up. Everyone was relieved to learn that there were still no new cases of infection in our county. Mary and I learned that she had found a way to ensure that Thomas and Kim were properly notified. She used a courier, so they both had to sign documents. We were grateful that Mary's house was empty because that's where Mary suggested I meet June for some private time. When Mary and I went to bed those nights, she made sure I fell asleep, tired. On the day Thomas and Kim were released after being found free of the virus, Kim called Mary to see if her house was available to stay. Mary said no, but agreed to help her get some of her things once she got settled. Her parents reluctantly allowed her to move in with them. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.